to my channel, Bookish Lady Night. Today I'm joined by Maxine Henri. She is the author of the Reckless Billionaire series. If you haven't read it, any of the books, you can start anywhere. They're standalones, but they're all interconnected and they are addictive. So just do yourself a favor and add them to your TBR. Please like and subscribe to my channel so that you can see future videos like this with other authors and get the news on all the new latest releases and things that are up and coming. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time and I love your books.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. And well, I'm thrilled that you like Reckless Billionaires.
They're wonderful. The first one I read was Reckless Deal. That was the first book I got introduced to.
Gio and Mila.
Yeah. Yes. And then I just went on from there. I think I went backwards a couple times for the reading that one. So I went kind of in the middle and then I went backwards. So I've read them all now, but they're all amazing.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Which one is your favorite?
Ooh, I liked Paris's story. I think she's my favorite. Okay. I really liked Paris. That was the latest one, but I don't know, Gio, that one had a lot of angst and a lot of
some
emotion
of them are very angsty. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So what inspired you to write them?
That's what you expect from a... Oh, sorry. I keep jumping at you.
Oh, no.
That's what I guess that's some of the billionaires are just angsty because they go through a lot of personal growth before they realize how much they can gain from falling in love.
Exactly. Well, they're probably very guarded because they don't know if the person's after it for their money or for them, so they don't trust it.
Yeah. That's I guess the core of the trope itself is that trust issue that people who are often, I guess, used by others have, and then to recognize what is true in those feelings.
Exactly, yes. That is true. So what inspired you to write the series?
Well, I don't know. That's a question that I get often, but I guess why I started writing Billionaire is because I feel intimidated by small town. So I don't feel like I can write a small town with a proper, like a Lucy score kind of a, way. So I found that Billionaires is the, kind of a way to go because I can go to bigger towns and just feel more safe there in terms of settings.
Exactly.
And then I started enjoying it. We all can dream about the lifestyle. So,
oh yes.
So all that, the research for it's really exciting. But other than that, those are contemporary stories that are, set maybe in a little more luxurious kind of a world. But I love reading romance, and so I love writing it.
So were you always wanting to be a writer, or did someone specifically or a certain book inspire you to start the journey of writing?
Well, this is very interesting because when I was in high school, I told one of my teachers that I would like to become a journalist. And she looked at me and said, she was an older lady, this was probably her last year teaching, and she looked at me and said, "Oh, that's such a job for a man." And I really respected her. And I was just like, oh, okay, so I guess I need to choose another career. And I did. And so, but because I loved writing so much, I went into marketing and PR specifically. So I have been writing all my life, just it was more for commercial business purposes, not fiction. And then just, I don't know, one day I decided, you know what, these stories are living in my head, so I'm just better put them on paper. And for a while I was writing for my drawer until, I guess when the kids get a little bit older, it just kind of was like, oh, do you want still the corporate job? I don't know. So I needed an outlet, and I found one in writing fiction.
That's wonderful. It's good you kept with it and then didn't let her, even though she dissuaded you against following journalism, she didn't dissuade you from quitting writing
I
and
guess when
stopping
there
that
is
passion.
when we have passion, it just screams at us, and if we ignore it, you can't ignore it. So I guess I was like the shadow artist. I didn't allow myself to write fiction, to write my own stories, but I kept at writing regardless.
That's wonderful. It probably like gnawed at you, right? Like constant like
Yes.
scratching of start doing this, start doing this.
And when I was
Well, it's
little,
good
I
that you
always
did it
used to
because they're
journal.
amazing.
I used to always journal when I was even a little girl. And I had this, like, I would narrate my life in my head, so I guess there was always a little bit of a storyteller in me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Did you tell your children a lot of stories, make up stories for them when they were younger?
Yeah, I sometimes still do. They're teenagers now, so they kind of like roll their eyes. And but I did enjoy it early on when they were little, and they were like, "Oh, mom, is that true?" And I would be like, "Yes, yes, it is." Just tease them, but yeah.
Fall. That's really wonderful. So, who were some authors that you said that you used to read, always kept a connection with reading, and who were some authors that you inspired you and that you really felt like comfort in or enjoyment in?
I absolutely adore T.L. Swan. Maybe she's the reason why I'm writing Billionaires, probably. I mean, I like Lucy Score. There are many like women's fiction author, Lucinda Riley. Yeah, that's probably the top of my mind. Lauren
Okay.
Page, she's amazing.
Nice. So, who's your favorite out of all of the couples that you've written about so far? Who do you most
Well,
identify with?
I can't. I guess it's the one that is coming out in June because I mean it's the last book in the series, and it was kind of, for the longest time I couldn't decide if I'm gonna pair the two step siblings or not, if I'm gonna write a book for each of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just seemed like they were always, they were meant to be together, and I really enjoyed writing their story.
Wonderful.
And also
I'm
because the
excited
book
to read.
brings the whole family together because of that taboo kind of a topic of step siblings relationship. So I guess it was nice to revisit all, to have the cameo from all the other siblings. There is a scene where all the brothers are sitting at the club together, and the sisters are constantly texting. So I just enjoy that I could bring them all together in this last book. And I just love Baldo. Like he's your next book boyfriend.
Oh, I'm excited. Well, we got a hint of him in the last one, and
Yes.
I liked what I saw so far. And I mean, like it's a Gio's story when I was introduced to that one and Mila, it was just like intense. And so it like snatched me and I was like, I have to go read the other ones because I want to know everybody's backstory and I want to know how they all, because it's a big family. It's a very big family and
Yes.
there's so many of them and they're all different personalities, but they're all like cohesive together. And so the way that you made the family unit like solid, but each of them their own person, I was like, I have to read them all. I just have to read them all. So I
Well,
really
thank
enjoyed
you.
the series for sure.
That
You did
makes
a
me
great
really
job.
happy. No, I must say that towards the end, I was just like, oh my God, never write such a long series. It just is a lot to keep up with them. I mean, they are very on top of my mind, but sometimes I'm just like, well, the Massey's and Gina little girl, how old is she now? Oh, I better don't bring her to the event because I don't know how old she
Yeah.
is. So I just have sometimes make these adjustments in the scenes when I just kind of can't remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
because you
long
can't
series.
keep them all straight. Keep them all straight. So are you do you have plans for your next series? Or are you going to do just
Yes,
standalones?
I actually started writing the first book of the next series this week. It has been a struggle because it's so, finishing a series is such a bittersweet moment because I'm excited to put the whole series out there for the readers, but at the same time, I'm saying goodbye to those characters. We are staying in the same universe. My first series, Untamed Billionaires, we meet some of them, glimpses of them in the Reckless Billionaires. But I think I want to tie it even more, so it will be, you can call it spin-off. It will be a new series and everything, but it will be in the same universe. So we will meet our favorite characters. And I think it will be 4-book series. And it might be all of these books will have one main trope that will be the same for all those books. But that's all I can say at this point because I started writing the first book, but the characters are still fighting with me. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
You just let them lead you.
I let them lead you. The first week or two, every writing session is more of a discovering the characters, like who they really are, what is their journey, what is their wound, and how the love or the connection will fix that wound or help them heal it. And I need to fight. It's when I come and sit at my computer with I'm gonna write 5,000 words today, and 2 hours later I have 24 words, and I'm just like, oh my God. So the beginnings
what do you do in those situations when
writing.
you have that?
I just sit with it. Sometimes I go for a walk, but mostly I sit with it. When it gets really bad, I text one of my author friends and I force them to brainstorm with me or just to listen to me complaining but I cannot see her. I don't know what I cannot see her. She makes no sense to me. And they would just talk me through it. And that's the best, for me, just to, sometimes I ask a question about my character, and in that question I already answer myself, but I guess that's how I have to voice it or say it to someone in order to see it. When it's just in my head, I'm kind of lost. So I have 2 very good friends who write also, and they have to bear with me when I'm starting a book.
That's great that you can bounce off ideas and use them as a sounding board and get out of your head to get them on the paper.
Yeah, and to just gain a perspective. And sometimes it just helps when we, because we read in different genres and we read a lot of books, so we just kind of can help each other.
Well, it's that way anyway with friends when you're having a rough time just in the daily life, when you go to someone and you can voice it and then have it mirrored back at you. It's someone else's perspective. It can be really eye-opening. So
Exactly. You change the perception that you have in your head. Oh, sorry. You change your perception into a perspective.
Exactly. Yes. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's amazing that you have friends like that, because that's always easy to find. And especially when you're using it for your writing, a lot of the times people will be like, well, you're just writing. I don't have, not to be crass, but I don't have time for that right now. But the fact that they're open and willing to provide that for you so that you can give your best self and your best work.
Definitely. And this is a very lonely job. Most of the time I'm in my head with the fictional people. And so I really appreciate that I have people in my life who are going through the same thing. And I always brainstorm with them their stories. And then I can, I feel like I should do a shout out to Mila Kane and Kat Bummer, so people can check out their books because they are brilliant authors.
Oh, well, I am. I'm not familiar with either of them, so I will definitely check out. Yes. I love to read. That's
if you read a little bit darker, because Mila Kane writes mafia and bully romance, and Kat Bummer writes protector heroes and also mafia. So if you
I
are
like
into
both those
those.
tropes, so I'll read all of
Yeah.
those. I'll read them all. So what is some of your writing process? Do you do like an outline, or you just kind of just start typing and just see where it takes you? What's your usual
Well, at the
plan?
beginning, I mean, I carry the story usually in my head for a while. So I don't sit down and outline, because if I have a very specific outline, I get bored. I like to write. I'm more of a discovery writer, not 100% discovery, but like I like to write the way I read. When I finish a chapter, I want to be excited and surprised about what's next. So if I know what's next, it just becomes this chore of like, typing it out. At the beginning, I carried those two people in my head for a very long time, and I'm a very visual person, so I started getting these glimpses of their interactions. They're completely not related to each other. Just like this, like he says something to her, or they have this little banter, or I just see them somewhere in some situation, and I don't know how those would fit in any story, but I just like get familiar with them that way. And when I feel like and this is when I wake up in the morning with that I know how the story should start, that's when I sit down and I just write it. And sometimes it happens when I have it written in my calendar that this week I'm starting to write a new book. Sometimes it doesn't happen like that, but sometimes I have to force it a little. But those the first quarter of the book, I just like go in blind. But then as I write and as I discover the characters, I more and more can see the story, and also start thinking about the story structure and what do I need to still think about in terms of bringing the complete arc to the reader for each character, etc. So that's when I start taking more notes and thinking about, okay, I need more scenes to pull them apart, or I need something just to hit all the beats of the story.
Okay. Oh, that's really, really great. So what's the most difficult for you for writing in the opposite sex perspective? Like writing for the guy, like getting in their brain and being able to write them.
No.
I would think that would be really hard.
Yes. It was at the beginning really, really hard. Like when I was just like, so I would like, if I sit in a coffee shop or in a restaurant, I would try to overhear men talking and just get, but I also believe that in these books, especially written all by female and mostly read by females, I think maybe the males are more our imagination and the way how we want them to be or how we think they are, not exactly maybe how they are in real life, because how many of them really led us into their chats or banter or whatever. But I do have, my husband is sometimes an inspiration for like we have a great relationship, and he's a guy who gives me a lot of inspiration in terms of the way the guys stand up for the girls in my books, or how they show their love. So that's one thing. And then we have two neighbors the three of them hang out a lot together. And sometimes I'm just listening to the things they say and roll my eyes, but then like, oh, okay, good. But it's definitely is. Oh, is my dog disturbing us now very badly?
If you need to, I can stop it if you need to go
No,
get
it's
her.
okay.
Otherwise,
It doesn't. No, it's okay. It's okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just felt that it maybe will be too loud. Well,
no, it's totally fine.
So yeah, men are not as easy, and sometimes I find myself that I keep writing the beginning of the book always in the female POV, and then I'm like, oh God, I need to go. And that was like with the Reckless Deal, Gio and Mila's story. For a long while, it was written mostly from Mila's point of view, because I just felt that the angst was coming out better with her in her head, as opposed to knowing what really Gio was thinking when he was doing all those not nice things, or when he was so undecisive. But and then later on I went in and I felt that, the story would flow better if I just show the reader a little bit of his inner monologue. Sometimes the story just dictates,
out of the stories, they just flow on. I was talking to another author, and she said, she's like, sometimes I want the character to go this way and that they fight me and go the other way. And it's really interesting to think that, because, that's coming from you, but even still within your own creativity, it can literally no, we're going this way.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes it surprises me because I don't fight it. I go that way, even though I feel kind of, uneasy about it. And then only few chapters later, something comes up when I'm like, thank God I went that way, because now it all is coming together. So I don't see it at that point. It's fascinating, the process that sometimes really surprises me. Sometimes I feel like I'm just recording.
Yes, I love hearing
whoever
about
is dictating it.
Exactly. That is exactly it. It's so interesting hearing authors talk about their writing process and how they get there, because if they made one little change, the whole story would be totally different. And that's how life is. We go one way versus the other way. So it's really great that in writing that mirrors real life.
But luckily, unlike in real life, I can always go a few pages before and just fix something, which unfortunately doesn't happen in real life.
Exactly. So, out of all of your female characters, who is your favorite to write? Out of any of your books, this series or your other series, or...
Well, I don't know. I love them all. Each of them is so very different. And I enjoy so much writing those women and getting inspired by other women in my real life, and just putting together little pieces that form this fictional woman that, sometimes it's, very wounded, and sometimes is really strong, and, and always flawed in some ways, perfectly imperfect. But I must say, I like writing really young girls. Vanessa was 24 in Untamed Billionaire, in Chased by the Billionaire. And Ivory, Ivy was 21. And I don't know if it's just me revisiting my youth, or what I wish my youth was like, or something, but I just do enjoy that. Though I find that I always have to put them into a situation that their life circumstances are making them a little more mature than that age, because I don't remember anymore, how silly or whatever I was back then. so sometimes I just give them life circumstances that make sure that they can act and be a little more mature in their lives, in the way how they react, because I don't know if I can fake it in 21-year-old anymore.
That's wonderful. Well, I think that happens a lot of the time with a lot of people, especially nowadays. You kind of get pushed to be older than you are, have more responsibilities than you necessarily would at the age that you are.
Yeah, that's true. I also find that writing women is so difficult. I find that readers would redeem a hero, very not easily, but they would redeem a hero. But a heroine, she has to they have to relate to her. She has to fit certain standards. And sometimes the story wants a woman that is broken. And I find myself often thinking, oh, people will hate her. No, I have to give her, So I just find that the women are more difficult to write than men in that sense, to really make them relatable. So I tell the story I want to tell through them, but at the same time make them relatable to readers.
Yes. Well, it definitely comes across that way. I think in every single one of the female characters you've written, there's some aspect of them that I have like a kinship with, that I, between like, you know,
that's so good.
I'm a mom, I have my own business, you know, all these different things, like each of the women in there has something going on that I can totally relate to.
Yeah.
And have that like connection with.
Yes. I think that with the first two, though, Reckless Billionaire, the Reckless Fate and Reckless Desire, the men were just so solid and so, you know, and and the women had really big wounds from their past. And I think some of the readers were just like not liking the fact that the Black moment was initiated by was coming from the woman's wound, not the man's wound. So that was a learning for me, because I wrote the story the way the story fit, but I think people love the way, like they love the writing, they love the guy and whatever, but they were like just, well, you know, didn't like the woman being the victim of their past.
Well,
so
I know in London's story, like at first I was like, what's her deal? But then when you opened up about what her deal was, I was like, okay, I can see that. Like I can see why she's the way that she is. And then I mean, even before I knew that, it wasn't like, I was like, okay, there's something going on here. We don't know it yet, but there's something big going on here. But there's a point to it. So yeah, I didn't feel like wronged by that story.
Yeah, but some readers did feel, I guess, that way. So, but I learned from that. It was interesting because it was an interesting creative challenge for me to just look at it also from that perspective of like, okay, how can I bring a woman into the story that, you know, is strong and, you know, relatable, but at the same time flawed, that you know, she's real. So so that's but that's always a challenge, you know, because we want to be badass and want to show the characters who are badass, but really, like, out there, you know, not all women are. We know are, like, I feel that we are more queens of self-doubt and you know, and than anything else. So, and maybe that's why we want to see the fictional women to be the way we are not. But it's such a it's a balance that, you know, I have to always lean into one or the other or find some good mix.
Yes. Well, that's definitely, you can see it in your book. You can see the evolution of each character and how you learned with your writing and you tweaked and changed it. And I'm so excited for the next book. I'm so very excited to read it.
Me too.
So what is your writing kryptonite? Something that just totally, if you're in the process, it just derails you.
Well, I guess the beginning is for me the hardest. Like some people always say, oh, it's the sex scenes. It's not the sex scenes for me, because for me, the sex scenes are always part of the plot. Like, I don't, you know, like, I know authors who just like write the book and then go in and do the sex, the smut. But for me, whatever happens in that very intimate scene just somehow moves the story or moves the development of how those two characters. So I love writing those because it always like sends me somewhere farther in their relationship, and then I'm like, okay, so what are we gonna do with that now? Now they're scared of intimacy, or now they're falling in love. They shouldn't be falling in love yet. You know, I'm only halfway through. But the beginning is the hardest for me because I need to get to know the two characters, and they take their time sometimes to speak to me. And then I often have to, like, I make most revisions are done at the beginning of the book for me. Like, I circle there before I let myself to go beyond beyond the 30%, because I just need to be very confident into knowing those two people and knowing where they are going. Well, I mean, obviously they are going to happily ever after, but that is the two people outing when I get there is defined by who they are.
Like, I love, like I said, I think my favorite is Paris's story. I love her her bucket list and like I'm not going to give anything away because it's such a meet cute. Like the meet cute is like perfect. So definitely read that one because it's great. But I just loved it that it was all based on this like bucket list that she has, and she's like, I did that, I did that. And then she's like, I did this, and whoa, it took me way over
And
years.
whoops.
So
Yes.
which
Yes.
was great.
I did enjoy writing that because it was light and fun, and I even was considering to test it if if I have guts to do that, but so far no, I didn't do it. But maybe I'll still try. I'm
I
not
think
encouraging anybody to do
yes,
it.
no. But I think after reading that book, like as I don't have a bucket list. I mean, I have things I want to do, but they're not like rolling around in my brain all the time, like do it, do it, do it. And I think after reading that book, I was like, I can't, not necessarily that thing, but I was like, I want to do that and I want to do this. And I like started like writing down things I
Oh,
wanted
that's
to do.
great.
So
Oh, that's wonderful. You see, that makes me really happy, but it inspires people even beyond, just the entertainment part. Yeah,
exactly.
that's wonderful.
So what is thought? So the writing in the beginning is your hardest. Is there any other areas like, or if it's like a really emotional scenes, are those really difficult for you to write, or any of those kind of aspects?
I do find the emotional and the angsty parts of the book are usually really exhausting. Like I cannot write as fast when I'm writing those parts because I literally, like, I physically feel all those feels. So I would sometimes like have to stop after an hour and a half of writing because I'm sick in my stomach, or just like, so I have to go and shake it off and just like return to the real life, order pizza for my family or something, but just get out of it because I just physically really feel all those emotions, and so it can get really hard. But I think I enjoy writing all the parts. I enjoy how just the process of the story coming together in front of me and surprising me with all the twists and reactions. Sometimes reactions are like when I write a dialogue and then he or she answers to a question, and I'm like, oh wow, look at that. I didn't expect that happening.
That's great. That's great. It's I commend authors because I don't. It's a lot. Like all of the little pieces you have to keep floating and weaving together and staying authentic to the story while propelling it forward and having that ability to do that. It's got to be a very daunting task. And then the worry of like how, especially for women, like you touched on it earlier, we are constantly in our brain questioning ourselves. To have all of that dialogue on top of the other dialogue, it
Oh
must
yeah,
be daunting to do.
it is. But I must say, when I'm writing, I kind of can. I'm so immersed in this story, and I so enjoy, passionately enjoy doing it. I don't think about the book has to come out and people will read it and what will they think, and I might like I just tune that out. But then later in the editing process, that's when it starts coming in. Like, and I have like few readers that have been with me since book one, and they are so excited, and in my newsletter they always answer and congratulate and whatever. And sometimes I catch myself and I'm thinking about like particular person, like, oh, she loved that character, will she love this one? And then I'm like, stop it, you can't. Like, so yes, I want to write books that are marketable. I mean, I'm writing commercial fiction, but it is a balancing act not to fall into the trap of like trying to please everyone.
Exactly. And I feel like the less people do that and they just write their authentic story, better it is. I mean, I know there's a
Yes.
lot of people out there that will, not be kind, but there's so many more that speaks to them more is when you bear that out, regardless of anyone's judgment, and then you tell like an amazing story.
Yes, definitely. And I do try to do that, but sometimes I sometimes I catch myself falling for, like, I scroll on TikTok and they're like, oh, this is really trendy. How can I? And they're like, stop it. Like, if it comes out in the story, then yes, but I'm not, I don't want to write a book. So there are these like trends in it. Though they count, like, I mean, there are some trends in Paris, and there are definitely some in Baldos and the Reckless Vow, the next book. But they just happened because of the way how he is. Oh, he's so obsessed. Oh, he's like, oh, you're gonna love him.
I'm excited to read him. Like, even just a little bit, like I said, that we saw at the end of the other one. It was just like, ooh, I can't wait for that story. I know it's gonna be good. So,
and this is what I have been enjoying, which I discovered in this story. I think it first happened with London's book, that at the end I write an epilogue that kind of sets up the next book, but I write it from the opposite point of view. So in the book, when you get the next book, it's written from the other point of view. So what you just read about Baldo coming home, then in the book it's from her point of view. So readers who stay with the series gets these little, like, at the beginning, always from both point of views.
Yes, I love that. I remember that in the end of the last book that led up to this last one of Paris.
Yeah, to Paris. Yeah.
I remember the end of the last one, the coffee being stolen.
Yes.
And then it started with his point of view of the coffee. So
yeah.
That's
and the
wonderful.
Same happened with, like, at the end of Mila and Gio's book, The Reckless Deal. The Reckless Hunger was written from Andrea's point of view when he fell on Ivy at his exhibition, but the book started with her point of view and the same scene happening. So, and it kind of, it's I like that because it's a series, even though they are standalones. Like, at the end of when I wrap the epilogue of the current book, I just kind of like set the stage for the next one. And so then a few more weeks later, I get to write it, I go and reread that, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is where we are starting. So there is that continuation. Yeah.
Well, and also, like you said, they're standalone, but those epilogues, like I was saying, lock them into place, so they all connect them. Yeah. Yes. That's really, really great. So when you're writing, do you get energized from writing, or does it sometimes make you really, like, tired and feeling it?
It depends. Sometimes I get energized and I cannot leave my computer, and that's, I live with 3 men. I have 2 sons and my husband, so house full of testosterone. And they are very supportive, but sometimes they are just like, oh, mommy's in her writing cave, like, oh, just, and I do find sometimes that it energizes me, and that I so much that I just want to stay in the fictional world and not to leave it. So sometimes the normal humaning is kind of a chore.
Yes.
But then there are times when it gets me tired because I guess we just, like, go in cycles and events.
Like a little bit of a wave, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I know that we have a little special surprise for everybody today, that you're sharing some news that hasn't been heard anywhere else. So I'm going to share my screen for you. We have over to that, and there we go.
Yay! Drum roll.
Yes, drum roll.
So no cover or blurb has been revealed yet, but Reckless Vows tropes are marriage of convenience, billionaire stepbrother. It's a second chance, overprotective, obsessed hero. There is no third act breakout. And there are these little things we love, like my wife and who did this to you. And of course, angst, banter, and steam that are, signature in this series. So I'm very happy that I can share these tropes now with you guys and with you, Catherine, because, they will be coming out on my social later tonight. But but you're the first to see them.
Well, thank you. I'm so honored that you shared it here first with everybody, and I will be very excited to be a part of the reveal when you do reveal the covers. And
Oh, thank you.
when they come out,
Next
they
week.
are amazing. Like I was going to tell you, like they're beautiful. Like when I was making that little video to talk about you coming on, I love all the floral, and even the ones with the men in them. They're all so stunning. Like whoever does your covers, they do a really great job with it. It's breathtaking.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do like them. Um, when JC, my cover designer, came up with the first one, the first one is all blue. I should have them handy here, but anyways. And I was just like, oh my God, how are we gonna make 7 that are this beautiful? And then every single one she would come up with, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so proud of those covers. They are beautiful, and I'm not going to be humble about it. They
They're
just
gorgeous.
really are. They are gorgeous, and I feel like she gets better and better with every single one of them. So
Exactly.
I can't wait to show you the last one. Yeah, it's pretty as the other ones, I guess.
Yes, it's definitely beautiful. So where can we find your books? On Amazon, or do you have a direct website where we can purchase from? I know for me, I always like to go directly to the person.
Yeah, unfortunately not yet. This is a plan for this year, definitely, to put out my own direct store. But yes, my books are on Amazon. I am in Kindle Unlimited, so for those who read electronically, you can get them with the membership. But all the paperbacks are available there as well.
Well,
And they are available in other stores, because I do distribute them widely, like through Ingram Spark. So recently I saw a review on Barnes and Noble's Canada. So I guess if you go to your local store and ask for them, they do have means to order them.
I think they do order direct to home. I know I've done that with a couple indie offers at Barnes and Noble.
Yes, you can definitely get them in any. You should. I mean, they are available for every wholesaler. So yeah.
Wonderful. And she does have a newsletter, so definitely I will link her Instagram below. And I think I can direct link to Amazon, so I'll put that below also. But you can find all of her links on her Instagram, including her newsletter, which I subscribe to, and I highly recommend you do, because you get all the latest and greatest information. And she'll probably be talking about her upcoming books there soon. So definitely do that.
Sometimes I have my heroes hosting the newsletter. So if you want to get a little more of them.
Yes,
you can definitely get them every Wednesday.
I love that. I love it. Every time I read them, I'm like, I love this. So, yes, wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate your time and talking to me and sharing the wonderful stories that have lived in your head, and you've given them to us now.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that you liked my books.
Yes, I love that.
It's always so great to get direct feedback from a reader. So thank you so much.
Of course. And then everyone out there, please like and subscribe and share with a friend who likes billionaire romances. They won't be disappointed. And I will see you next time on my channel. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.